Well, with everything going on in the world, the hobby's been kind of weird lately. This plane I've had on back order for over 3 months, but I finally got it. And I'm really excited to see what this thing is. Let's open the box. All right, so here we have it. This is the twin Otter. This is by E-flite, sold through Horizon Hobbies. That's where I picked it up, their website. And I am really excited for this plane. I love civilian planes. I love multi-engine civilian planes. And this kind of checks some of those boxes for me, so I'm pretty excited for this. Beautiful graphics on the outside of the box. Again, this is a brand new plane for 2020. This is something I've looked forward to and had on pre-order for some time, so I'm happy I finally get to actually take and have this this moment of unboxing. Now, this is a weird plane. There are some unusual things about this. First of all, it's a multi-engine, multi-motor plane, and let's see if I can get this thing out of its box. And it's only 1.2 meters in length on its wings. That's actually very small. To give you an example, the Cherokee, which is also made by E-flite, is 1.3 meters. And that's a single engine aircraft. So kind of interesting, the difference there. Again, we love to see all the good graphics on the box. We know exactly what we're getting. We'll let that go that way. Wow, beautifully packaged plane. And this is a really wide box, very unusually wide box. And I think I can see why here. Let's go ahead and pop the foam. And yeah, just kind of what I was suspicious of. This is unusual. This is the first time I have ever seen this. This looks to be, it is, a single piece wing. The entire wing is one piece. God, it's a beautiful wing. Wow, look at those nacelles on there. Those are great. Wow, what a beautiful little plane. Looks like they've done some nice wire management here. We've got our power running up to the battery. Looks like all the work's done for us, actually. Quite literally, this looks like it's plug and play, other than we need to obviously make our connections to our radio. But wow, really, really nice. Looks like we've got live foam hinges and no reinforcements in this. That's kind of interesting. So this is touted to be a park flyer. You know, it almost the same wingspan as the Cherokee. I wouldn't consider the Cherokee to be a very good park flyer. A little bit too big for that. This is kind of in that realm too. However, it's interesting because if you look at the scale of the Cherokee compared to this is much, much, much more scaled down than what the Cherokee is. So it kind of does feel like a smaller plane, even though we have that wingspan. Boy, look at those airflow diverters. Wow. Beautiful plane. All right, let's keep going in this box. That is a really gorgeous piece. I am, my ho-hum about it being one piece as a wing is, you know, typically you're gonna damage when you crash half of the plane, the other half will be just fine. So that means if you take and, you know, do a tip stall or something like that, maybe you know, you hit something, you're replacing the whole wing, and it looks like the nacelles as well. So that's a bigger job for repairs on this already, and that's kind of not, in my opinion, the best thing, but we'll dig into it, we'll give it a shot. Again, great packaging, good pieces, holding everything nice and tight. Wow, we got some good stuff in here. We'll start with this guy. Looks like we've got our elevator, and that is one piece as well. It's not two pieces. So it's going to have to pass through probably the tail to mount. That's interesting. And again, no reinforcements in the hinge itself, live foam. Normally that's a big con. However, we've found on the E-flite EPO reinforced foam, we've never had a hinge break. Never once on any planes, including even on some of the higher speed planes like the F-35, or no, not the F-15. There we go. Never had any kind of a problem with cracking, with it breaking in any way. Here's our fuselage. Let's go ahead and we'll slide this out. Wow, beautiful piece. Good foam, really great graphics on this. Good two-tone paint job. We've got our radio mounted already on the inside. With this being a safe and AS3X stabilized plane, that's kind of something we've come to expect. They want to remove some user error from that, I suppose. We've got a heavy-duty piece of plywood that's been mounted in here. Looks like this is our wing mount, if I had to guess. God, beautiful plane. Looks like our canopy and battery access is magnetically sealed. Good heavy-duty magnets. They've got some reinforcing tape on there and some plywood. So they don't want that going anywhere. Beautiful piece. Looks like we've got some lighting in here too. We've got a tip light on our top of our rudder here, which probably means we've got it in our wing. That's interesting. Why didn't I notice that? Well, sure enough, we do. Oh, that's interesting. I would dare say that's corner cutting. That is, absolutely. E-flite, shame. So we have two LEDs mounted to a circuit board right here. That's not very good looking. Not only that, but the problem with LEDs, when you just mount straight LEDs, LEDs are highly directional. That diffuser, you're really only going to see that LED if you're looking right on the tip of the wing. You get out of that, 15 degrees, maybe 30 degrees up to that, you're not going to see that LED anymore. So we'll probably end up taking and fogging that over, maybe just scuffing it up the end of it with a little sandpaper. That'll make that LED much more vivid, give it a lot more visibility angle wise. So not sure what I think about that. We'll have to look, we'll build it and see. Oh, this is interesting too. There's a clevis on the outside here. Oh, you know what that's for? I know what that's for. So this is the trike landing, or we've got pontoons. Now, I live in Utah, right? Desert. Not a lot of places to use that, so we're going to be using our trike gear on this. This is the connector to the rudders on this setup for when you're running the pontoons. So that makes sense. We're not going to be using that, at least for this build today. Maybe we'll do a flight and a review. We'll see what we can do and get out. Looks like we got a lot of EPO foam scraps all over the place. That's kind of interesting. Anyways, beautiful fuselage. Just gorgeous. All right, let's see what else we got in here. So we've got our pontoons, just like we were saying. And looks like we've got a loose control rod. Let's go ahead and set those aside. There's our control rod. So that control rod is what is going from that clevis back to the end of the pontoons to, there it is, there's our rudder. Actually, to be honest with you, this is a really graceful setup. I actually really like that. One clip in the front, we've attached our rod, and then one clip in the back. When you start looking at things like, the timber, the full-size, original version timber, they had some weird cable things going on there, and it was really hard to get it to be calibrated right and have it actually track straight. I'm not so sure about the newer versions of the timber. I haven't played with those yet, being the key word. But this is a much nicer setup. So I like the simplicity and I like the ruggedness of a single control rod. That's great. Okay, what do we got here? We got a bind plug just floating around. All right. Got our manuals. we've got our prop set. Now, one of the things I really like about this is the striping on our props. I think that's really cool. So that'll be fun to see spinning. We'll definitely look forward to that. And then we have our various mounting gear. So looks like these bags are well connected. We've got our landing gear set. Again, trike style landing. No tail dragger on this one. And we have got a bunch of hardware. This is going to be for mounting up our pontoons. And we have a third bag. That's interesting. It's got a lot of assorted plastic parts. Looks like these might be some pants for our landing gear. Maybe some air diverters for the tail piece, I bet. Yeah, I bet that's what that is. Interestingly enough, and I can see it here, we'll do a close-up of this, but this actually has a thumb screw for attaching the wing instead of having the typical Phillips or hex head screws that we've seen on other E-flite planes. So that is an interesting change. It means this thing comes apart and goes together real easily. Better for transport, and you know, that'll be interesting to see how that works. So we'll give that a whirl. All right, well, I think we've thoroughly unboxed this because, well, I got no more goodies in the box. Why don't we go ahead and start putting this thing together? We'll jump into some time lapse. Taking a look at what I've got on the table, this is not going to take much time, and then we'll give you our impressions about it. Alrighty folks, here we have a twin Otter, built and ready to fly. I'm pretty happy with how the build went actually. This was a very easy plane to put together. We've had some planes from not only various vendors but also from E-flite that have kind of been a little more difficult than not. The only real problem that I ran into is the counter-rotating props. One of the screws was super tightened down, and I really had to work to get it to come loose. Knowing that it was counter-rotating didn't help. It just, boy, it was on there. So I scuffed up my anodizing on my green side, and that makes me kind of sad, but oh well. Other than that, beautiful plane. Landing lights are absolutely awesome on this. Little detail I hadn't noticed before. And our lighting really looks pretty good overall. We're gonna still scuff up the lens with some sandpaper, but hey, you know, we'll get to that. I think what I need to do now is let's do a thrust check, because we haven't done that yet, and I'm kind of excited to see what this little thing will do. These are small little 20 amp ESCs and motors in this, so I'm kind of curious. We've got 2 of them. Let's throttle cut, and wow, that's really got some power. Well, the desk's a wreck. That's really got a lot. A little curious here. Thought I'd play with the flaps just for fun, see how that interfered with that airflow, because the motor nacelles are literally centered right over those flaps. This thing's gonna want to fly like a kite when you come in. We should be able to come in real slow, just because we've got all of that airflow directed right over those flaps. Great feature. That is a lot of power. I'm actually quite surprised. Beautiful plane. God, this thing just keeps growing on me. I'm glad it was worth the wait so far. And really it was. I haven't found any showstoppers on this. Anything that I can really criticize. You know, minor details, you know, these little veins, they just kind of snap through the foam. You know, you could probably push them right back out, but there's a barb and then you tear the foam up. They are sloppy. There is flop in them. It's not the end of the world. You know, the thumb screw was really nice, actually. You know, being able to take and literally assemble your plane with a thumb screw on the field is fantastic. Basically, what I'm saying by that is to take this out, transport it and fly it, toolless setup. Wow, that's weird to say on an RC plane. Toolless setup, and that's transporting it and taking and breaking it down. Pretty cool. You know, the battery hatch is ample on this thing, so this will run anywhere from an 1800 to a 3600 milliamp 3-cell battery. Now I've got a 2200 E-flite series in here, and I did some experimenting too with a little bigger battery. 2200 is just kind of that ubiquitous E-flite battery. So if you fly a lot of their planes, and I've got, you know, the Cherokee, I've got the F-20 or the F-15, you know, I've got a handful of their planes that all fly off of this battery. So I've already got it. I don't need to go buy something new, and I like that. Very broad set of batteries that you can use with this. The landing gears went on really nice. They are actually pretty rugged. Now, the one piece of advice I would have is that you are screwing into a piece of plywood on the bottom. You know, plywood, it can either be great or it can really be terrible, and usually it's somewhere in the middle. And when you're using those really fine thread screws, you know, you can run into problems where you take and over tighten and then it's done, you know, and it's a quarter turn and you've done that. I'd recommend dropping just a drop of really thin CA glue into those holes. That'll turn that wood to plastic, and you'll have something a little more to kind of bite into with the teeth on the screw. Another great feature too, small things, you know, and it's things that I kind of like go, oh, well, that's nice, I don't have to do that. You know, little features is every one of the cables for, you know, wiring the motor to the wing were really well labeled. Normally I'm getting out my little label gun and I'm printing all my labels so that I can match up the ends really quickly and not have to fiddle with it out in the field. And this came set up that way. So that was really nice to see. As we go through the control surfaces on this, man, we've got some good deflection. And it's interesting because a lot of this wants to be scaled back quite a bit on our throws. And of course, we've got Safe and AS3X on here, adding more stabilization. So our ailerons are just gorgeous, absolutely killer. No big surprises there. We kick back to that rudder or the elevator, and it just looks great. I like kind of that little split hinge feature that they've done there. It's a small thing, but you know, I appreciate things like that. The rudder, again, no big surprises, and right out of the box, every one of these control surfaces was lined up perfectly, and once we had cinched down the screw on our landing gear, we also had that pointing in the proper direction that was actually aligned. Great to have a plane that I don't have to fiddle with. One super small critique that I have, this is something I'm going to do to this plane just because, you know, I feel like it needs to be there. I've had enough experiences where I want it to be there. All the clevises connecting the servos here, they don't have any little rubber ring around it, a piece of fuel line cut. There's nothing there holding that together. If that was to fail, come unclipped for whatever reason, maybe you're in high wind, you're getting some buffeting. And I've seen times too where Safe will oscillate a plane's control surfaces severely. Oh, my apprentice was a nightmare on that. You know, anytime you get really strong oscillation, you can break those off. You can separate them. And so I'm going to go through, I'm going to put a piece of cut fuel line on each of these just to hold those suckers shut and make sure they don't come open mid-flight. Such a beautiful plane. Golly, I don't want to wreck it. It really is a weird size. It is. I mean, it is a very odd size. It is somewhere between the UMX line of planes and take like the Timber. You know, that's probably honestly about, you know, almost a third of this or 2/3 of this in wingspan. But you go up to the Cherokee, and that's a lot bigger plane with lots deeper wings, and you know, just overall feels like a bigger plane. This really does feel like a small plane. I think it'll fly in a park just fine. I'm still going to take it out to the airfield, but that's because I take other things out to the airfield. So, you know, the only other thing I don't think I covered was the flaps. Beautiful flaps. You know, we kind of tinkered with them there at the beginning. You know, they come down nice and far. We've got our, you know, rotation speed here set, so they move nice and slow, and they're very firm. Oh yeah, great stuff. The only other, you know, critique that I can go back to from the very beginning is, again, if I, you know, wreck this plane, if I do a little damage to it, you know, if I get, you know, a plane that falls on it, even as I'm transporting it, and we snap a wing or something just, you know, dumb happens. It is going to be a project to replace this wing, because one wing has 2 ASCs, 2 motors with our nacelles, and 4 servos, all mounted in it, let alone the lighting as well. So that's kind of quite the thing there. Yeah, hopefully we don't damage this wing too much. You know, one thing I did want to do is, while I'm here, I had to take and throw my sandpaper in my pocket. I wanted to just take my lighting here and hit it with a piece of sandpaper right at the edge of the bulb. And what this does is diffuse, oh, that is so much better, diffuse the light coming out of it, giving us a much better viewing angle. We'll zoom in here with the camera and you'll be able to see that. But boy, what a difference that makes on the viewing angle of these marker lights. And for me, when I fly in low light conditions, I really like the lights. I'll even glue them on planes if I haven't got an option for them. So for me, that's kind of an awesome feature. Other than that, oh, guys, buy this plane. So $229. Shipping is free if you buy it online at horizonhobbies.com. We paid full price. We don't get any kickbacks, so that's why we get to talk honestly about some of these planes. And it's been rough sometimes. Again, this will fly anything on a 3-cell from an 1800 to a 36, 100 milliamp battery. Tons of opportunity there. You know, look, even if you've got some smaller planes or you're wanting to get into the hobby, I'd say this is not a bad plane to actually tinker with, just because of that variability, that spectrum it gives you. Again, it comes with safe and AS3X. That's an option you can turn on for stabilization only, or you can have that auto correction feature. Pretty cool. So yeah, links are all in the description. We've got our Spektrum DX8 out here that we're playing with today. We get lots and lots of questions on tools we use and whatnot. We're going to be putting all those links in the description, so hopefully that helps you guys out and lets you have a lot more fun with the build and less tinkering and hacking at things to get it to work, which this plane, again, went together real easy. Phillips screwdriver, that was it. So toolless setup on the airfield. Crazy. We're looking forward to taking this out, and until we do, keep flying. One of those, I declare, will work. They even sent the right plane. Actually, I've never had Horizon Hobbies send me the wrong plane. Banana, though. Ooh, hello graphics.